our old friend Senator Carl Levin, Democrat of Michigan, head of the Senate Armed Services Committee, was on This Week with George Stephanopoulos, and he said something that's, he said a lot of things that are pretty disturbing on a political scale. We want to just play you one of the clips here to give you a sense of it, and then we'll talk about it.
You've had your leader, Senator Harry Reid, sponsor legislation that would cut off all funding for most combat troops next March. Other senators like Barack Obama say after the veto that most of the Senate will vote for the funding, and he thinks they should. Which camp are you in?
Well, we're not going to vote to cut funding, period. Even Harry Reid acknowledged that that's not going to happen. He has a personal position, which he said was not the caucus position. He was very clear when he joined a bill which would cut off funding under certain circumstances. But we're not going to cut off funding for the troops. We shouldn't cut off funding for the troops. But what we should do, and we're going to do, is continue to press this president to put some pressure on the Iraqi leaders to reach a political settlement.
Yeah, I'm going to put that in the whoop-de-doo category. He said in the other clips we played as well, over and over, we're not going to cut off funding, period. Dude, I got it. Might as well make it an exclamation point. Instead of doing that, why don't you go out there and say, no, we gave funding for the troops, and Bush is going to veto it. He's cutting off the funding for the troops. I don't know why it's so complicated. That seems like an easy rhetorical maneuver to do that.
Well, I hear you. I don't think it will work. But I think
give it an old college try.
Well, I think we should give something to try. I definitely don't advocate the no, we're not going to cut off the funding for the troops. We love the troops.
Actually, I'll go a step further. The whole idea of I love the troops, I don't want to cut off funding. Oh no, I love the troops. Just, dude, you seem panicked.
Well,
okay?
that's what
Just come out there calm and be like, hey, you know what? Of course we all love the troops. That's not the point. The point is, what are you going to do that's going to work for the troops? Is it to stick them in the middle of a civil war? Hell no.
Right. Now, I just mean, I don't think putting it back on the president is going to make that much, is going to help, because I think that ultimately people see the Congress as responsible for the funding. But change the argument, for crying out loud. Fight him. And I completely agree on that regard.
Right. And, and Harry Reid basically said earlier, meaning, hey, listen, we have a new Congress in town. Pelosi said that as well. And he said, you're not the king, you're the president here. And so, in regards to how they're going to play this thing's going to play out, it looks like the Democrats are ultimately going to say, they have enough people that are going to say, and Carl Levin explained it later in the program, where they're going to come back and President Bush is going to veto it. They're going to take out whatever that he finds objectionable out of the bill and then send it to him. And then President Bush is going to veto it again and take out whatever else he found objectionable until President Bush gets exactly the bill that he wants. Now, I think that's not a great idea in the short term and policy-wise. But politically, the Democrats are probably playing it pretty smart. Because if you take ownership of Iraq, then you're just as responsible as these guys are. I'm not talking about policy. I don't think they should do it this way. But on a political level, if the president wants to be obstinate about it, you let him be obstinate. You let the Republicans all support him, and in the end, go to 2008 and say, these are the guys that, drove you into a ditch in Iraq, ruined our army, and lost. And we didn't have anything to do with it. We fought him all the way, but what could we do? He was the president, and he won the political battle, and that's why you should make sure to never vote for a Republican again.